Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to San Diego Media Pros. My gosh, there are a lot of people here tonight. And that's awesome. Thank you all for coming. We start every meeting with a horror story. I spent this morning at DV Expo. That was not a horror story. It was great. But it reminded me of a horror story that happened a number of years ago. I went to the MCAI National Convention. They talked me into coming and doing a lighting workshop. And I paid my way to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Go Cheeseheads. And found a room on Craigslist that I could rent and tried to do it as cheaply as possible. Hi. And showed up to a couple events and then showed up for my class, which I was teaching on lighting. And the fine folks in Madison, Wisconsin had not arranged for a light kit. So I'm standing in a room going, okay, welcome. I'm going to do a lighting seminar and you're just going to have to imagine it. About 2 minutes into the class, a guy comes running in with a light on a stand and says, will this work? It's a light. I guess so. I proceeded to do a lighting seminar with one light. I went out in the hall and found cardboard and white paper and taped the white paper to the cardboard. I used the single light as a backlight, aimed at a reflector, spotted. The reflector was bouncing the light in here. The backlight was, the spill of the backlight was on the person's head and shoulders. A silver-sided reflector here, added fill. I added a makeup mirror and stuck it with a wad of tape onto this to point light into the background, and I had three-point lighting with a background light. And once I did that, my butt unpuckered. Thank you. I got a great review. Somebody said, this is a perfect lighting seminar because no matter what shoot you go on, something screws up and you have to figure out a way around it. So, welcome to San Diego Media Pros September meeting. We are on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. Did you know that a membership to San Diego Media Pros, or MCAI, which is the National Association, is about $7.50 a month. It's a little less than $7.50 a month. And that means that you get the food, you get the camaraderie, and you get so much knowledge for $7.50 a month. Well worth it.
Sometimes beer and wine.
And sometimes beer and wine.
Yeah.
Another note, when you get our meeting announcements, when you give us your email, we will send you meeting announcements. When you get those meeting announcements, we would appreciate it if you're going to forward those meeting announcements to go down to the bottom of the email. It's done through Constant Contact, and use the forward link down at the bottom of the email and forward it from there. That way we know that you forward it, and so we can see how many people are receiving the emails. A couple things that I want to talk about, and one of them is that gentleman right there. Surprise, Tom. Tom Zizzi not only is a wonderful,
He's on the
nice
screen
guy,
behind you, too.
he has been, I know, you have no idea what I'm going to say. Tom Zizzi, not only being a wonderful, nice guy and great enough to volunteer his time and work to make promo videos for our meetings, Tom has been a cameraman in San Diego for a long time. And he has done wonderful work for a long time. You have seen his work. You have probably marveled at his work. I know I have. Recently, Tom was brought into the Silver Circle of Natus for 25 years. 25 plus years of broadcast television work. So, Tom, congratulations. I'm going to toot my own horn for a minute. We have a filmmaking group called Amalgamated Grommets. We do the 48-hour film project. This year, our group went up and participated in the LA 48-hour film project.
Oh, goodness.
And we kicked some LA ass and won. What this means to you is when you hear people talking about how LA production must be better than San Diego, you can tell them they're wrong. We are just as good, if not better.
Woo!
Right? One other little bit of news. Groovy Like a Movie was broken into the other day, and some camera equipment was stolen. What breaks our heart is it doesn't look like a random break-in. If you have any information, talk to Brent. If you can provide any assistance, talk to Brent Altamar at Groovy Like a Movie. We all feel terrible for him. I spent this morning at DV Expo. I'm going to spend tomorrow at DV Expo. I'm doing a seminar. I'm representing MCAI there. We have no LA chapter, so the San Diego and Orange Counties chapters are manning a booth at DV Expo. It's ironic that I have to go to LA to meet San Diego people, but it worked. We met a number of people from San Diego, and we made some nice contacts. They weren't willing to come down and drive like lunatics down here like me and come to this meeting, but I met a number of people who will be coming to the next meeting. And now every meeting we have tips and tricks. I'm going to go through these if I can read them. Writing. If you're putting a story together, figure out what the ending will be so that you know how to work the story toward the ending. It's something that in the 48-hour film project, it helps with your story writing if you start with the ending and work toward it. It's also true with commercials. If you want to have a happy ending, you have to figure out how to build to it. Producing. When you are bidding on something and the client says, I need it cheaper, always show the full cost and then show discounts down to what you're willing to do. So that way, the next time they said, well, you charged me this time, you can say, yes, but the full rate is this, and I gave you that one special deal. Somebody else, Mike Tao, gave me a wonderful tip a while ago. When somebody says, you know what, I need a deal on this one, but I'll catch you up on the next one, he says, tell you what, I'll give you a great deal on the second one if you pay rate card on the first one. Or third. The tip on shooting is if you only have one light, use it as a backlight, bounce it for film. Because I don't have any more, I was driving down from DV Expo and couldn't think of anything. Directing. I listened to a podcast by Barry Sonnenfeld, who's a director who directed Men in Black and various other films. And the directions that he gives actors and others is faster and flatter. The faster and flatter a person speaks, the less they're going to over-emote, the less they're going to act, and the more normal they're going to be. I've found that even true with corporate clients who are trying to express themselves. Faster and flatter. Editing tips. When I'm editing audio, I do two things. I play the timeline through with my eyes closed and listen to it, completely separate from everything else, and set my levels to that. And then I play the timeline through with the sound down and watch the levels. And make sure that the levels aren't going crazy. Apparently I was driving while I wrote this, because I can't read. When directing voiceover, this is for voiceover, both directing voiceover and for talent. When directing voiceover, try to give 3 descriptors. When you are trying to give direction, try to give 3 descriptors so that if one doesn't hit home, the other 2 might. For example, deeper, more powerful, epic. If they don't get deeper, if they don't get more powerful, maybe they'll get epic. This is also true for talking to talent about what they want. If you're a voiceover person and somebody hands you a script, you want to get a sense of what they're looking for. And composers, yes. We have composers in the room?
Well, I'm just saying.
So, first of all, thank you all for being here. This is awesome. Thank you. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Mike Tao in a moment, but I personally want to say a thank you to San Diego Audio Video and Voice and Video for hosting this meeting and opening up their doors and letting us come in and rummage through their drawers. It was awesome to go in the back and find all the cool stuff that I jammed in my pockets. Yes. It's one of the, when I was at DV Expo this morning, among many of the people that I met with said, do you have a meeting place? And I say we meet all over the place in order to show people what is out there in the production world. We do that on purpose so that we can broaden everybody's breadth of knowledge. And every person we spoke to said, oh, that's really smart. They hadn't thought about it, but it's just one more way to increase the education that's going on with these meetings. So that said, Mike, it's all yours.
First off, I have to say I love this lighting. I feel like a U-boat commander. I also have to say that I cannot believe this many people came out to listen to editors. You do realize we sit in dark rooms and are antisocial and will not be entertaining you for the next 2 hours. And third, since I'm an editor, if you don't mind, I'm going to talk to you like this. Really, thanks guys for coming out for this. The first people that I want to introduce that are going to talk to you is a wonderful sponsor of San Diego Media Pros, and it's the folks from New Blue Effects. New Blue Effects are here locally. They're a local vendor. They make some amazing effects, and the things that I like, the one thing I like the best about their effects is, since I'm a freelance guy, that means I've got a Mac Pro that has Final Cut 7, Final Cut 10, Premiere Pro, and AVID Symphony on it, right? And I've got to have them all in a 47-year-old brain, which is not working so well. But their plugins, you buy that plugin, it works across all of them. It works on every single edit system out there.
I'm done.
All right, Travis, sit down, moving on. This is Travis from New Blue Effects.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Raphael, our product specialist as well, and I'm told I have about 10 minutes. I'm going to do less than that because basically want to tell you what we do, why we exist. So New Blue Effects is a local company. We're on 5th and University. We actually just opened up our new offices downtown there, and we have like 280 some odd plugins in our library. And they range from 2D and 3D title animation all the way to color correction and grading and all kinds of fix-it tools in between, denoise, skin touch-up, just across the board. So we have something called Total Effects, which is everything in the kitchen sink. And then we have a lot of different subcategories that break down to depending on what your interests are. You might, my question is like, what makes New Blue Effects New Blue Effects? Well, one thing we really strive to do is kind of a philosophy we put into all of our tools is fundamentally we respect your guys' time and your billable hours. So every time we try to approach a tool or an effect and how are we going to offer the control set, we always dial it into the control sets to make the most visual difference. So you don't find yourself in a position where like, oh, slider 12 is not doing anything. Oh, that's because slider 32 is not at 50%, right? So we really try to make intuitive, fast, efficient tools, and that's just kind of how we drive everything that we do. We have an opportunity. We actually have demos right over here, and we're showcasing some of our flagship products, Titler Pro, which is the 2D3 title animation, as well, thank you very much, as well as color fast, which is very efficient color correction in any NLE that you're in primary, secondary color correction and grading. So come by, check us out. Because we're here, because we're in San Diego, because it's the first time we've been here, and we want to share the love, we have some very deep discounts tonight as well. So you might want to check those out and see what those are. They're as much as like 50% or something like that. That kind of thing. So it's very good to meet you guys. I met a number of you out there. I want to meet all of you guys and swing on by afterwards. Thank you.
Seriously, guys, I would advise you to go over and check out what they've got going. Just a couple more things. First off, just to do a real quick 30 seconds, I want to introduce Ken Gimble. He is one of the guys running voice and video rentals.
You know, I'm looking around this room. My brother David and Bob Metz and I bought this business in another building over on Vickers. We're voice and video on Vickers. And we would stand around. I was probably 19 and Tom was
a little older than 19.
Yeah, not much. And, you know, Wayne Brubaker was there, Craig Bentley was there, you know, and I'm looking around the room and I'm looking at Rich Purcell and Mark. I mean, we were young guys, and we would look at guys like us, Roger Tilton, Robbie Summers, Mel Hall. We'd look around, you know, and we were all your age, you know, and here I am all these years later, 33 years later, addressing, you're not ITVA anymore, are you? No. It was a few years ago. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad to be here and still active in the business, although we divided the business a number of years ago. Your real hosts are the Knorr family, their voice and video, sales and repair. They're the ones who bought the food. I just showed up and provided a 60-inch monitor. And we're in the rental business. So what we do is we do what used to be on the screen here a little bit, but larger shows, and that's our event. That's what we do. We do staging events and a lot of rentals, not a lot of production gear. We send most everybody over to other people, like video gear rentals. We think the world of them. So you're not really my customer, but I want you to know if you ever need to do a staging event, you need sound and lights and whatever, that's what we do. I hate to say this, but I'm the bearer of some bad news that won't mean much to a lot of you, but Eva Langer, who worked for us for probably 10 years, had an office back over there, passed away earlier this week. Eva was a great lady, and a lot of people here knew her. She worked for us, then she worked for Audio Video Supply, she went to Qualcomm. I mean, and she was a regular at these meetings for many, many, many years, and a great friend. She discovered she had cancer last December, and unfortunately, she made it to her 55th birthday on Monday and passed away that evening. So our hearts go out to Eva and Dawn, who is her partner, and just wonderful, a wonderful, wonderful lady. Sorry to deliver that sad news. I promised to be brief, and I will be brief. One of the things that we do every year is that we hire a college student, not necessarily a video editor, not somebody who's a production guy or lady, because we're not in the production business. But if you know of a college student or somebody else that wants to work about 20 to 25 hours a week, that doesn't mind driving a van and delivering equipment once in a while, but spend most of the time in here helping us to prep gear and test gear, please have them give us a call, because we are looking for somebody actively right now. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining us and coming to our home. And I'm going to turn this over to somebody else. Thank you, everyone.
And as a guy that has to book clients, deal with clients, deal with getting paid, I'll take that job driving a van.
Applications are in the back, so.
One more person that I want to come up here and talk to you guys was also responsible for getting this, letting us use this room, bringing in the food, bringing in the drinks. Mr. Ryan Knorr from Voice and Video Sales and Repair.
Thank you, guys. Nice to see you. Really appreciate you coming out. Nice to see familiar faces and meet a lot of you guys. New faces. There's probably a lot you don't know about. Some of the history that Ken mentioned. Some of that there's more than one business in the building. Just really quickly, I'll tell you about us. As they mentioned, it's my family business. Both my parents and I and our family, we run both San Diego audio video and voice and video sales. So we do production, editing, transfers, and coding, and a lot of CD and DVD printing and packaging. That's where we got our start with San Diego audio video. And then a couple years ago, the previous owner of voice and video sales, Bob Metz, was retiring. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity to rebrand it, give it some new life, continue it to keep going, to be a resource in town for all of us. And it doesn't need to be just one or two places or everyone thinking they have to go online or go to LA or what have you. So that's what we're here to do, keep it in local, offering student discounts, offering, in fact, I have flyers for discounts for just for coming tonight, so check with us anytime. One quick thing I want to mention, in addition to our building here, we have this large room here that is available for lease. So we're considering converting it to more production space. I shoot it as it is. It's nice, has the high ceilings. But if anybody's looking for space, wants to get creative with designing something, check with me. We're planning on building it out. So thanks again. Enjoy the rest of the night. And I'll hand it back over to these guys.
All right, so that got all the bills paid. Now on to why we're all here. We decided, every year it seemed like we were doing an edit system shootout, right? Come and see what all these edit systems can do. I'm a firm believer that all of these edit systems can do what you need them to do. I've used every single one of the edit systems that is being showcased tonight in broadcast work with no problem. So what we did was we decided we were going to give a number of editors the same footage for the same projects and have them each cut on a specific edit system so that you can see how one editor may approach things differently from another editor and how one edit system may help out versus another edit system. So what we have Final Cut 7 in this corner, Final Cut 7. That's what we should have done. We should have gave everybody like fighter nicknames. Tom the, I don't know.
Yeah. What?
Tom the Iceman Kinnaman. Tom Kinnaman began his editing, has been editing since his career began in 1982. In the beginning with 3/4 inch. The work was primarily sales and marketing, training and corporate imaging. Then Betacam and 1-inch came along, and after a stint at Roar Industry, he managed production at Lightning Corporation. Still editing nearly every day. Infomercials and then broadcast spots filled the time. About the same time, D2 pre-read editing was in vogue. He ran the D2 room at San Diego Video and Film in the early 2000s. And now for the past 10 plus years has been working with Final Cut Pro at Primetime Media Group. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Tom Kinnaman.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is just getting stupid.
That's it. Now he's going to introduce someone else.
Who said editors were boring?
Representing Adobe Premiere Pro, a guy I've known for quite some time. A good friend of mine that I spent the evening with at the Padre game the other night.
Great win.
In the Qualcomm box, we were eating free hot dogs like they were going out of style. Eric Addison is the owner of 100 Acre Films. He directed as well as shot and edited short films, short films, commercials, training and promotional videos, as well as numerous corporate videos. He's also the manager of the San Diego Premiere Pro Users Group, which if you're using Premiere and you're not at the Premiere Pro Users Group, you really need to go. And when he's not doing that, he's working on various scripts as well as watching movies. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Addison. And representing AVID, another guy I've known for a long time, and I was so happy when David said that he would do AVID. David Schweitzer put himself through the radio and television production program at Palomar College and started working right away in various production capacities. He was at JMTV. It was at JMTV that he was allowed to take on his first paid edits. A year later found him working at Multi-Image as a post assistant, where he had an education in live event production as well as being trained on the AVID when it arrived in 1995. He edited scores of projects before moving into the job of post-production supervisor, where he managed and maintained 4 edit suites, 2 digital audio suites, animation, and DVD systems. 2 years later, the dot-com bubble burst. That sucks. And he was laid off in 2001. He's been freelancing ever since. That doesn't suck. He's been freelancing ever since in the areas of editing, animation, post-system integration, and maintenance, and live events. He has many local and out-of-state clients, including broadcast television with ESPN, doing on-site editing for college football, golf, horse racing, baseball, and the X Games. He has a passion for technologies and the tools that help him do his job. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together for Mr. David Schweitzer.
Hire him, hire him, hire.
And if you want to hire
Hire
him,
me, hire
it's
me.
David Schweitzer, 858-231-EDIT. Nicely done, my friend. Representing Adobe After Effects. This is probably one of the most creative After Effects guys I have ever had the privilege of working with. Mavis Media is a broadcast design and production studio specializing in motion design, animation, and live action production for advertising, music videos, entertainment, healthcare, and B2B communications. They've worked with a wide range of corporate and consumer brands, including Adidas, Adobe Software, MTV Networks, Vans, Bausch & Lomb, Earl Scheib, Los Angeles Times, Quicksilver, Nicktoons, Shell Oil. Ladies and gentlemen, Mavis Davis.
Thanks.
I got iMovie here.
Wait a minute, I thought Mike Tao was doing iMovie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Some of you might think that I'm doing iMovie because Brent Altamore from Groovy was supposed to do Final Cut 10, but with all the stuff that's going on in his world, he had to back out of it. So I get to be your Final Cut 10 guy. Michael Tao has been in the production industry in San Diego for over 20 years. In the last 9 years, he's been the owner of M2 Digital Post Incorporated. I feel weird talking about myself in the third person. Go, Eric.
Do I need to read it?
He's a mama's boy.
Okay. Michael Tao has been in the production industry in San Diego for over 20 years. Over the last 9 years, he's been the owner of M2 Digital Pros Incorporated, where he has worked on corporate, broadcast, film projects. As an editor, he has worked with AVID, Premiere, After Effects, Final Cut, both 7 and X. As a member of the local filmmaking group, Amalgamated Grommets, I probably pronounced that wrong. Yeah, you left off the E, man. Spell checking. He has edited numerous film projects, including Harris Lethal, which screened at the Cannes Film Festival in 2010. Michael Tao, folks.
All right. So here's how we're going to do this thing. We're going to start off with the commercial cut that I don't think everybody got it done. So not everything got done by everybody because, well, we got paying jobs. But the majority of it got done. So we're going to start off. It was quite ambitious, yeah. I owe all these guys at dinner. So we're going to start off with a corporate cut of a car commercial. And how we're going to do this is before we roll a specific editor's cut, we'll let them say something about it if they want to. If not, we'll just roll it. Once we're done with all the cuts in that category, we're going to open it up to questions. And we're going to keep it around 5 minutes for questions, so don't go too crazy. But if you have questions about any of the cuts, how they were done, what the editor was thinking, fire away. So let me run over here and figure out which one we're going to do first here. So, hey, Tom, why don't you talk about your cut on this commercial spot?
Okay. Do you want to roll it first? Why don't you roll it real quick?
Want me to roll it first?
Yes, please.
Okay.
That's really sad like you, but I was just thinking that.
It's the model year-end sales event at number 1 Champion Ford. Number 1 savings on the number 1 best-selling truck in the world for 36 years, the Ford F-150. And right now at Champion Ford, get over 10 grand off. Buy a brand new 2013 Ford F-150 and save thousands in dealer discounts. Get thousands in rebates, additional financing rebates, and special trade-in rebates, totaling over $10,000. One dealer, 2 great locations. Number 1 Champion Ford Erie and number 1 Champion Ford Edinburgh.
There you go.
Very nicely done.
Okay. Basically, you become a technician, right? And you have to lay things out. Everything's all about layers, right? And you start to learn different little tricks. And once, I started editing HD a couple of years ago, and while render times are still horrible on Final Cut 7, it's a lot of fun because you can do so much more. You can throw so much more saturation into the scene. So I gork everything up a lot because it's a commercial. It's just supposed to look pretty, right? The background here, if you can see this little monitor over here, you can see just even in this one right here, there's just a basic blue background, but it's got a filter on it, probably. Yeah, see? This filter right here, this is one of my favorite filters. It's a misfire vignette. I know it's very hard to see. But then I put another filter on top of that to give it a little bit of a flare in the background.
Can you turn the screen? Yeah, right
No. Let me go, now I dealt with that, let me do like this. Nah, don't worry about it. You're just going to have to live with it. Otherwise, it's going to take 10 minutes. Okay. Let me just show you one other thing. So on the middle screen, you can see the, yeah. On the middle screen, just look at it, there's the truck, okay? This is something I do a lot, okay? This is just a little trick, and then I'm going to be done, okay? Because everything's sectioned out a lot, and we're dealing with a lot of different vehicles, and we're moving things around a lot, you can see the orange square on the other side over here, okay? So I use a traveling mat to put that into that square, right? So that's the size of the vehicle, actually. And I fit it into that. So now, if I needed to use a different vehicle, and you can't rely on the footage to be exactly the same every time, you can slide that in to fit the space that you've created. Because we have 2, 3, 4 different spots with a similar format. I can put another vehicle in there, and it fits in there nicely. And it's a traveling mat. So that's done like this. So I have everything mapped, frankly, on the keyboard, but composite mode, traveling mat, I use all of these composites all the time, because now with HD, you can create things on top of one another that you couldn't do in standard definition. It just wouldn't hold up. So, from add to, yeah, good luck with that, fixing that. Okay, and I killed my render, of course. Okay.
If you were at 10, that render would have just happened for you.
I'm in love. Okay, thank you, Dave. I'm such a skeptic. I use TIFFs a lot rather than the Photoshop document. I'll use Photoshop a lot and turn it into a TIFF because the TIFF, you put an alpha on it, and now you've got full control over it. You don't have to worry about the levels. You do everything in Photoshop, and bang, it's in there. There's a little shadow on that, and I think that's probably enough about some things that I did to put the spot together. Thanks.
Brilliant work. All right, I'll fire off my my commercial cut next. Same footage, same voiceover. My approach on it was I wanted to keep everything in an Apple world since I was repping Final Cut 10. So I use motion a lot for text work, and motion works really well for text stuff. So I basically just threw text over the top of it, did some motion tracking. The motion doesn't have the best motion tracker in the world. But here's my cut on it.
You must not miss the Follow year-end sales event at #1 Champion Ford. #1 savings on the #1 best-selling truck in the world for 36 years, the Ford F-150. And right now at Champion Ford, get over 10 grand off. Buy a brand new 2013 Ford F-150 and save thousands in dealer discounts. Get thousands in rebates, additional financing rebates, and special trade-in rebates, totaling over $10,000. One dealer, 2 great locations. #1 Champion Ford Erie and #1 Champion Ford Edinburgh.
So the tips I would have for you off of this, shut that down first. Let me walk over here to 10. And I'm hoping this monitor is going to be bright enough because I have not figured out how to turn it up any brighter. And there ain't no buttons on it. So the only tip I would give you on this is when doing your text for a spot like this, if you can see here, the text is on a separate layer up on top. I exported out the video to motion, did the motion track, and then threw away the video and just rendered out the text as a QuickTime 4x4. So it's got alpha in it, and drop it over the top. And the reason I say that is if there's one thing your client is going to change like crazy, it's text. So it's much faster just to render out the text than it is the whole video. Now the only gotcha on this is if you start using transformation layers. If you start using ads or screens or anything like that, then you need to have that background video in there for it to do that transfer layer with. I think that's it. Everything on this was done either in 10 or motion, including the backgrounds here. The only plugins that were used, there was a simple 3D plugin used here to twist the images in. It's a free plugin from the Ripple Training folks. And the flare was done with M-Flare by Motion VFX. It's a great little flare plugin. If any of you that use After Effects and use optical flares, it's like optical flares for motion and Final Cut 10. And now I'm back over to this system. I'm like a 1970s rock band keyboard player. And this is a cut, this is my favorite cut of all of them. This was a cut put together by Mr. Mavis Davis. Mavis, is anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to have fun with it. I don't know if I really followed the parameters that were asked of me, but I just wanted to kind of make something that was fun. I had like 2 hours to put it together, and yeah, just roll it. It's goofy.
You must not miss the Follow sales event at #1 Champion Ford. #1 best-selling truck in the world for 36 years, the Ford F-150. #1 Champion Ford.
Mavis, can I?
I don't think I really harnessed the power of After Effects for that project.
No, but can I just say I love the way your brain works, dude. So Mavis sent that to me earlier today, and I looked at that and I just laughed my ass off. That's such a great cut.
That's what I was hoping for.
But the other thing that that I wanted to show you that Mavis does is some really heavy-duty After Effects stuff, because Mavis is a killer After Effects artist. So he handed me a couple of things tonight, and I'm gonna make sure I get the right one here. No, that's not the right one. Hold on. That one's cool, but it's not the right one. So this is, well, you know what, Mavis? This is the beverage compilation one. I'll let you talk to it.
You want to set this video up? What is it again?
It's the beverage compilation. It's the actual
Okay, so
one.
this is going to be a Sky Vodka commercial that I did the post on. I didn't shoot this, but it's a lot of compositing. It was all shot on green screen, and a lot of, well, painting, frames, and rotoscoping, and it's probably about 100 hours in After Effects, just this one. And there's not even any copy really in it, but yeah, check it out. And then there's also the behind the scenes kind of video.
Okay, so after seeing the content, I don't care that you had to spend 100 hours looking at that. Is there more on that you want to roll, or is that good? You want to roll the other one?
Yeah, just to show the behind the scenes
Okay.
thing, because it's pretty cool to see the plates and with the green screen, to kind of actually see how, yeah, kind of how it came together.
Here you go.
Oh, this is a different, you could kind of pause on that maybe. There's me, so we're shooting on a Red Epic, shooting like 240 frames a second for, this liquid pouring out. So there's me actually shooting the plate, and then that's the composite on the right. To show kind of how it goes in, we kind of like comped it into that coconut there. Yeah. I'm really concentrating. And that was actually real vodka. We poured like gallons out to get just the right pour. You'd be surprised how hard it is to film liquid.
Should I roll again?
Yeah. So that's that little bit. And then you can pause on that. That shows kind of the plates for the guy kind of holding the big bottle there and the legs, just to get the idea there.
Well, I think it's interesting on this too, like the top shot and the bottom shot, there's parts that ain't green, right? But you don't give a damn because you're just going to mat them out, right?
Oh yeah, just garbage mat it, yep. And a lot of it was shot with a slow shutter speed, so we were getting a lot of blurring, and we had to go in and like kind of just put the heels back on the girl, just frame by frame, a lot of that kind of tedious kind of stuff that, yeah. It should have been a faster shutter speed, and yeah. I didn't actually film this spot. I just did the post on it. The only thing I filmed was that liquid pouring out. I actually filmed that in my garage. That's a different. Oh, that wasn't supposed to come out.
Well,
That was behind the scenes.
This is different behind the scenes.
Mavis after hours.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mavis Davis After Dark. All right, so that's all the commercial cuts that we had. Anything else you want to say about that, about your work?
No, just the actual the car commercial. Just the quick overview of my process was I used Final Cut 7 to get the edit, then automatic duct it, kind of old school style, into After Effects, and just mix it. Yeah. I mean, just here's my basic deal. Real simple timeline with the puppet, and I have the.
Hold on, your monitor's not. Your monitor went away.
Oh, it did? Just touch it. There. So, yeah, there's me working the puppet, and here's the timeline. And then just underneath, I just put the car footage.
Is that a puppy you just happen to have?
Yeah. Sorry. It sound. I heard the voiceover and I was like, and I saw the puppet. I was like, this sounds like that puppet. Talking. So, you know.
For those of us that know Mavis, when you asked that question, we all went, well, yeah.
And then so just here just as an After Effects, really. I don't know. You know. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really spend. I just went for crazy, over the top, kind of cheesy, kind of, and then just threw the guy in. It was a lot of fun. Explosions are like kind of stock from Video Copilot sells these stock kind of things. Yeah. And yeah, that's it. There's my daughter. And yeah, that's right. Anyways, that's that.
So, questions for anyone on the corporate cut? Think of some, because I have to find something real quick. So think. I'm sorry, commercial cut.
Typical font that you would use for those types?
I used Futura just because I've been using it lately on some other spots, and I kind of like the look of it. Futura, yeah, but a lot of times on a corporate spot, you know, you're going to get some direction from the client. I mean, a commercial spot, you're going to get some direction from the client, and especially on a corporate spot, you're usually going to get a lot of direction from the client on what they want. A lot of them, the good ones, will have style guides that they'll give you that have all kinds of information.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Whenever you're choosing a font, you know, what you want to do for any message that's topographical, you want to word logo it. So no matter what you're doing, you want it to be a unit. You don't want it to just be a group of words on the screen. You want it to follow you want the eye to be able to follow it. So in any 5-word slogan, a couple of the words are the or it or and those aren't important words. The other words are more important. So you want to create a word logo with pretty much every title that you make.
Thank you. What were the stock explosions again?
Video Copilot has something called Action Essentials, and it's a huge box set of stock. Video Copilot.
Video Copilot has some really cool stuff too. If you guys
Yeah,
are working in After
they're
Effects,
great.
there's some amazing tutorials on Video Copilot. I think it's videocopilot.net. I think it's .net. Some amazing free plugins that they have out there for After Effects.
Tutorials.
Yeah, one suggestion I would give you for a plugin from Video Copilot is SureTarget. SureTarget is an amazing plugin to get really cool organic camera movement on stuff. Yeah, go to Video Copilot, look around. It's got some great stuff there. Jordan.
Yeah, I assume there actually is a champion for which one of these?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I beg your pardon?
I said I assume there really is a champion for.
Yes, there is. They're at Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay, which one do they use?
I beg your pardon? Which one? No, mine. Yeah. They're our client. I cheated. I used something in there. Want to make an announcement. The owner of a BMW 740 parked in the back lot. Your lights are on. And we don't have jumper cables. The young driver.
Yeah. So Newt back here just asked me a question about using motion with Final Cut 10 and how motion is for rendering in Final Cut 10. Because those of you that have been in a Final Cut 7 world, I'm sure you had the experience of importing a motion project, putting it on your timeline, and having it take 20 times longer to render in Final Cut than it did in motion. Yeah. Well, the answer to that is it won't take 20 times longer because that type of workflow is done. You can't take a motion project and drop it onto a timeline in Final Cut 10. You basically have to render it out and bring the movie in and put it on your timeline. So there's no like round tripping with motion. But the other side of that is the interface, the workflow between motion and 10 now, it's almost as if motion is a development platform for effects, titles, generators in 10. And I'll show you a little bit of that when we get to the corporate cut, which is where we're going to go now. How'd you like that segue? That was nice, wasn't it?
So Mike, what you're saying is you can go from Final Cut 10 to motion, but you can't go back from motion into Final Cut.
You can't I don't want to use the term dynamic link because that's kind of more of a Premiere thing, but you can't round trip to motion anymore. You can't say send to motion from the timeline. It's almost like the old, when I used to be when I was in the AVID world and I had to go to After Effects for things, I would render out the movie from AVID, take it into After Effects, do what I needed to do, render out a movie, bring that movie back into AVID, right? So it's kind of that workflow again with going back and forth to motion. However, and again, I'll show you a little bit when we get to the corporate cut, there is some ways to use motion in Final Cut 10, and I'll show you in a minute. So we're gonna.
How important is nesting for you? How much do you use it?
I use it when I need to use it. Was there a nest in this one? Well, in 10, it's not nesting anymore. It's called compound clips, but it's similar, and I use it when I need it. If I have a big stack of stuff that I want to put one transition on, to transition to another single stack of stuff or single clip of stuff, I'll do a compound clip, and then so that's when I'll use it. Okay, so we're going to move along real quick to the corporate cut. Everybody got footage from a client of mine. And this is the instruction that they got. This is the corporate edit. It's to include the company bumper and show bumper at the top. Interviews and B-roll for the body of the corporate bumper and the corporate bumper at the end. Lower thirds for interviewees. The company is Craig Michaels. What Craig Michaels does, they create events around the country based on certain industries. For instance, this summit was for folks that worked in the facilities and information technology side of K through 12 schools. The people that come to the meeting get to stay at the resort. They get to listen to featured speakers from the industry, go on a golf outing, be wined and dined. The trade-off is they need to commit 3 to 4 hour blocks during the day to, 3 to 4 half-hour blocks during the day to meet with vendors that sell to that industry. The advantage to the vendor is they get to meet for 30 minutes with a high-level decision maker to show off their products and services. The specific messaging for this video was the video should entice other possible vendors to sign up to be part of the conference. And reasons why they would sign up. Current vendors have had a good experience. The one-on-one meetings experience is much better than a traditional trade show. This is kind of like the messaging that we were given for this video. They get to talk to decision makers. There's time outside of scheduled meetings to meet with other prospects. And current vendors are recommending that they be a part of this, that they attend. So these are going to be a little longer than the commercial cut, obviously. Since you haven't seen any of his work yet, I'm going to show Dave Schweitzer's corporate cut first. Dave, do you want to say anything about this? You edited it in Media Composer?
Yeah, I did. I edited this in Media Composer. Everything came in. Sorry, I can hear myself. Mike gave us all the footage in Apple ProRes, and because I'm a Mac guy, using AVID Media Composer 6, not the current version, but I can do everything in ProRes. So I didn't have to. In the old days, you'd have to bring in the footage, import it, change it into AVID, into an AVID codec. But those days are long gone. I just brought it in, kept everything ProRes from start to finish. Did the lower thirds in After Effects because I wanted some motion out of them. So that's a good primer. We'll watch it, and then I'll show you my workflow and stuff.
My experience at the summit so far has been really good. I think the format is fantastic. It's an opportunity for vendors like ourselves to sit down and talk with people on an individual basis versus a standard kind of trade show.
It is a complete connection without people wandering in. They're coming in with purpose. and we're there with purpose.
It really allows you to determine very quickly what are the business synergies that you might have, and honestly, if there are any business synergies at all.
It's a condensed schedule of important meetings with the right people versus a lot of kind of traffic from people who might not be interested in what you have to offer.
It gives us a chance to find out where they're at, where do they want to go, and are we part of that solution? We're not always going to be part of the solution, and that's okay.
The individual meetings allow us to pick who we might want to talk to, and they've agreed they want to talk to us. So you're not having meetings when there is an appropriate conversation to be had.
You're not going to accomplish everything you need to accomplish in a half-hour conversation, but at least it gives you the ability to get invited back to the district to have a deeper, more significant conversation.
We had no concept of a model like this existing, where you're bringing people with needs to people with solutions.
It's a much more direct experience. And then of course you have all that other time for networking and just kind of hanging around and getting to know someone as well.
It certainly adds a lot of value to the decisions we make around our software, which I think is more powerful than a sale actually, because it impacts all of our customers.
We do feel that we were able to get significant value from being here.
It has already exceeded any expectations we've had, and it's been an absolute fabulous experience.
I gotta say, I loved that edit. I love the pacing of that edit. Next up is going to be Eric Addison's edit of this. Do you have a mic over?
We don't want to have any words about a breakdown of your approach or
I was gonna kind of wait
timeline?
until the,
Okay.
or do you? Let's do it. Let's do it now.
I think while we're on it,
All right, so I've been using Media Composer since it was one of the few editing.
a mic right on your
softwares.
face. Put it right next to you.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been using Media Composer since '95. It's changed quite a bit since then, and competition has really helped. A few of the things that I like to do in Media Composer that you can probably do in Premiere or in Final Cut Pro or even Final Cut 10, I'll lay them out and see. One of the things I like to do with interview pieces, AVID makes a really expensive plugin which will analyze the interview for you, and you can type in a word and it'll take you there. I don't have that. So I like to rely on the AVID allowing you to load up the source clip, which I don't know if you can see this here. You can load that up in your timeline window. And with the waveform turned on, it makes it really easy to whip through the clip and see that, yeah, there's maybe 5 or 6 different times that the mic starts driving the waveform. So I can pretty quickly get to the beginning of a selected byte, mark in, mark out, hit edit, and put together a quick string of everything the guys have said. From there, I can start throwing out the bad ones and then mixing and matching with the other people. Something I've always enjoyed doing in AVID is the customizing. I can take and customize my clip colors. So this fella, I made light blue. Let me see if I can bring up the bin. I'm a little cramped for space right here, but there's different colors for each person. I find that helpful because I can see pretty quickly in my timeline if I have too much blue or too much orange or too much yellow. It helps me to spread things out pretty easily, pretty evenly. So that's one of the things I like to do here. The other quick things that help me get finishing done, depending on how much screen time these people are going to get, and the kind of general rule of thumb that I've done with corporate things is you want to see them the first time and you want to see them the last time, because usually what they're saying at the end is their testimonials, is their sell. So you probably noticed you saw their faces up front, you maybe saw a smattering of face throughout underneath the B-roll, and then at the end it was face, face, face for the message. And with people making mistakes and the drive to hit a time mark, one of the things I really love about Media Composer, it's called Fluid Morph, and you can actually get in and cut out bobbles and mistakes, and this Fluid Morph effect will most of the time make it seamless. You won't be able to tell that you've cut anything out. Better than a dissolve, better than a cut. The fluid morph is really cool. So the whole, the whole thing, I cut first together down here at the base layer with fluid morph on it, so you can see, and maybe hear it, that you make them sound as professional as possible, and fluid morph covers that up. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy, and I use the heck out of with Media Composer.
What does it do?
Well, fluid morph, you remember the Michael Jackson video and all the morphing stuff from the late 90s. You can hide a cut almost probably 90% of the time with a quick fluid morph, where it looks like maybe they're speaking and they have like a little neck tick, or maybe they move really quickly. You're not going to be able to cut from a shot where hands are up here and then the next one there's no hands, because where'd they go? But for most of these things, the fluid morph covers edits. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it'll cover as long as the background. This is not a lock off, but for the most part, there was not too much camera movement. The guy's just sitting there.
60 minutes jump cut.
Yeah. I mean, I usually do a 6 frame, 6 or 8 frames depending. For comparison, what I have up on the timeline right now is 5 clips, 5 bits, pulled up and cut. So a dissolve you'd see, a cut you'd see, but the fluid morph you wouldn't see. So if I wanted to not cover this with B-roll, I could play it through, and if you look closely, you might see a little. No, not there. There, and there. Yeah. So you don't see it.
So it's like a very quick dissolve?
No, it's a very quick morph.
It's a very quick morph. Things that don't change a whole lot, like the background, you won't see it in. If people are talking and their head is pointing in one direction, and it's pointing this, it'll just look like they're talking and they move their head, pretty much. It's not good. No, it comes with.
Do they have anything similar to that for Final Cut Pro?
Not built in. I'm not sure about Motion or Final Cut Pro X these days.
I've actually exported stuff out of X and 7 and took it into AVID just to do that.
Yeah, I did that recently.
We had a bunch of interviews that were all green screen and no B-roll.
Yeah. So that's one thing that AVID's really, it rocks at. The other thing that I think some of the other apps do is you can apply what they call the real-time audio suite, real-time audio effects to an entire channel. So I put all my bytes on A1, and then I apply the real-time audio compressor limiter to bring them up, to gain them up without getting too loud, because it'll kill it from being too loud. But the whole channel gets the compressor all at once. So it kind of, I wouldn't say it normalizes, because that's a slightly different process, but it brings things up really close and really loud, so you can hear what they're saying. AVID has a whole selection of real-time audio suite tools that you can pick from, but for the most part, what I'm using is just gain tools, things that I can bring up. I can bring up levels, because it's important that I'm not louder than you and you're not louder than me.
It's like a trip to Pro Tools. Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. We do a lot of stuff in. I do a lot of stuff finish in AVID now, where we used to, depending on where you're working, you would be able to send it to sweetening, and they're much better at it. But this works. Okay, yeah, that'll be about it. So, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Don't go anywhere, because I'm sure there will be questions. This is Eric Addison's corporate cut. This was done in Premiere, and there's some After Effects in here as well, right?
First time at Craig Michael's K-12 Technology Summit, and I have to tell you that it's really been a phenomenal experience so far.
It has already exceeded any expectations we've had.
I think the format is fantastic. It's an opportunity for vendors like ourselves to sit down and talk with people on an individual basis versus a standard kind of trade show like layout.
Other trade shows and conferences, you get to attend, you certainly can get to, possibly sit with the people that you'd like to talk with. But with Craig Michaels, you really have the ability to talk one-on-one in a very dedicated and serious way about business issues that, you would like to discuss, as well as learning from the participants about what, their issues are, what their concerns are.
It's a condensed schedule of important meetings with the right people versus a lot of kind of traffic from people who might not be interested in what you have to offer.
Those one-on-one meetings are great to determine where do we fit in to the solution that they're looking for in their district.
And then, of course, you have all that other time for networking and, just kind of hanging around and getting to know someone as well.
Each time I've come to a Craig Michaels seminar, we've had individual meetings that really matter, but also conversations in the hallways or at the dinner meetings or even in kind of the moderated sessions today where we get to learn a lot about what customers are looking for.
I can say that, yes, we do feel that we were able to get significant value from being here.
Listen to what they tell you to do, follow exactly the process, and it will absolutely benefit you and your company if you have the product that's ready to go nationally. Absolutely.
Very nicely done, Mr. Edison. I love the way you worked in the opening logo into the lower thirds. That was very cool.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about it, brother.
Well, let's see. Oh, I got to talk into the mic, don't I? Yeah, it's corporate. Okay, corporate stuff is what I do pretty much. I'm going to stand up because I feel like the front row people, I can't see if I'm sitting. Corporate stuff is what I do most of the time. And it was interesting because I have a lot of clients, and all my clients are different. Some clients want stuff that. Some clients want stuff like, let it breathe. I want to see this. I want to get a feel for this. And when I sit down and start editing, I have that Rolodex. It's like a Rolodex in my head. Who am I cutting for? Them. Okay, they like this, they like this, they like this. So when I sat down to do this, it was like, okay, where's my, I don't have a Rolodex card for this. Crap. So it was a little bit daunting to sort of sit down and like, okay, well, how would I cut this? And then I realized that, I do corporate video, but I'm not a real big fan of corporate video. So I kind of had to like, let's find a way to sort of piece this together. So I'm not quite sure I hit all the messaging points. I think I kind of did. But I just kind of wanted to give like a flavor of everything. Because it's, with these kind of videos, you want to kind of show people, here's the event, isn't it fun? Everybody's having a great time. I like motion, I always try to have people moving or doing stuff with their hands, probably because I do a lot of this with my hands. But it just makes people look like there's stuff going on. I don't like shots of people just kind of sitting there, blah, 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 or not talking or being engaging. I think that, it makes people want to come to the event if they see people active. As for those lower thirds, yeah, I did those in After Effects. One of the things that I love about Premiere, I love all the Adobe apps because of the way they work together. And like we were talking about motion and you can't round trip. With After Effects, you can. So you can see on my timeline, for those of you who can see right here, I've got this pink clip right here. That's my lower third. And what's great about it is if I right-click it and choose Edit Original, it'll just open up After Effects. And there's my thing. There's my lower third. So let's say I misspelled her name, which I didn't, but let's say that I did. She's only got one G. I can just erase that G and then go back into Premiere. And we go down where her whole name is. There's only one G. So it updates. I didn't even save, in After Effects. And that's what I love about it is that because I use After Effects for a lot of stuff. And so my timelines are usually filled with clips and After Effects stuff, graphics, whatever. And so I'm just ping-ponging back and forth, just kind of like you saw. Just, make my change, go back, and we're there.
You got to re-render it?
No. So,
Or you do at the end?
Well, you do at the end, but the great thing about, when do I save to answer your question? Frequently. Because you never know, you know. But when I'm tweaking, once I get it the way I want it, then I save. Render, who asked me about render? Oh, rendering, okay, so the great thing about the new version of After Effects is that it has a cache. So if I render something out in After Effects, like let's say I want to see how this looks, I just hit my 0 key. Oops. Yeah, I do the RAM preview. What it'll do, why isn't it RAM preview?
You're in the title.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I get for, oops, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so there we go. So once I RAM preview this, it actually takes this RAM preview and puts it in a cache somewhere. So it remembers that. So when I go into Premiere to play it back, it might play back a little stuttery the first time, but then Premiere will tap into that cache and it'll play smooth, a little bit smoother in Premiere. So, you know, now obviously if you're doing some pretty heavy stuff like Mavis is doing in, you know, After Effects and you bring that over to Premiere, you probably want to render that. But for a lot of simple animation, a lot of the text animations and stuff that I do for lower thirds, I don't have to render it. My laptop here is not the most powerful system, but my workstation is got a little bit more horsepower and with a better graphics card, and so that gives me the ability to not always have to render. I can just do the lower third and then it plays back in Premiere.
So you are using After Effects basically as your character generator?
It's my, yeah, if I want something kind of smooth or slick, then yeah, I use After Effects. Or if I have any kind of graphics or, you know, if I need to, you know, fix an image sometimes, I'll bring it over to After Effects. You know, After Effects is it's a well that's very, very deep. There's a ton of stuff you can do with After Effects. I know about that much of it, you know, and there's guys like Mavis who probably know that much of it, you know. And then, you know, I'm sure there's really scary people who know 3/4 of the well. But, you know, but it's a great tool to learn, but it's a little daunting at first. So, and then if anybody's wondering, yeah, I had that little graphic, this little thing down here. I just took that from that opening graphic, shrunk it down, put a mask around it, and you know, feathered it, and you know, used some of the backdrop. So that was it.
Do you use Premiere's timer at all?
I do, yeah. If I just need to have just a simple kind of graphic kind of come up, and you know, yeah, I do. The titler in Premiere is it's not great, but it's not terrible. It's not Final Cut 7 terrible. No offense to Final Cut people. Offense. It's really bad. But the one in Premiere, it gives you a little bit more flexibility. You can actually see what's behind. You know, you can turn the video on to see what's behind it. You know, you have a lot of controls there. But when it comes to animating it, doing that kind of stuff, it's a little bit limited. And that's why I like to go into After Effects.
About the woman who interviewed in the field, your shot looks a lot more vivid, like a vibrant and emerald city-like. So, what was your decision behind that?
I just wanted her to sort of pop a little bit and stand out a little bit. I'm a huge fan. Sorry, Travis. I'm a huge fan of Magic Bullet and Red Giant. I love, by the way, New Blue has got awesome stuff. I wanted to just say I use their stuff all the time. I really am a big fan of their stuff. Colorfast is amazing, and Tyler Pro is an amazing Tyler. So just my plug there. But I use looks for that. I like to make people kind of stand out and give them, you know, just make them pop a little bit more. So yeah, so I threw looks on. Does everybody know what Magic Bullet Looks is? Do I need to say what that is?
What's in the
Okay, Red Giant has a thing called Magic Bullet Looks, and what it is it's just basically, if I click on it here, it's just a bunch of presets for looks. And it'll open up, and we should see the subject there.
Can't go too deep into it.
So
Sorry, I got to keep it on task.
But anyway, there's a bunch of cool looks. I use them as a starting point, and then I sort of start tweaking. So
A couple $100 for that?
it's I think so.
Color correction is really important, guys. Nothing goes out of my shop without color correction on it. Just to give it a look. Don't have it look like everybody else's video. Make it look like yours.
Dave, how did you do your title?
I went out to After Effects. I took the logo, the circular CM logo, and there's a lot of schmutz. There's a lot of stuff flying around in the background that I don't know if Mike, if you built that or not, but I took a section of all the stuff that's flying around and I fogged it out and used that as my background in that little panel. Cut out the CM circle. And the CM circle popped up, and then the panel came out with that stuff behind. Then I just had the type come on in a real easy to read font.
So you cut the original up.
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah. That's what Eric did too, though. Kind of.
Right, yeah.
He took
No,
the other
yeah.
element.
I just, you guys, I didn't know whether the graphic came with it or not. Okay.
All right, Mr. Kinnaman, anything you want to say about your cut before we roll it?
I think roll it first, and there's a couple aspects of how I approached it that are pretty straightforward, but just go ahead and roll it.
My experience at the summit so far has been really good. The format you have here is good because the individual meetings allow us to pick who we might want to talk to.
This is my first time at Craig Michael's K-12 Technology Summit, and I have to tell you that it's really been a phenomenal experience. Other trade shows and conferences you get to attend, you certainly can get to, possibly sit with the people that you'd like to talk with, either at dinner or at a reception environment. With Craig Michael's, you really have the ability to talk one-on-one in a very dedicated and serious way.
There is no comparison. It's focused. It's bringing people to the table. Those one-on-one meetings are great to determine where do we fit in to the solution that they're looking for in their district.
It's a condensed schedule of important meetings with the right people.
Nicely done.
Short and sweet. So basically, I had to break this thing down, right? So first, you can see, if you can see, there were different bins that had all the shots in them, right? So then I would create a sequence so I could quickly get through and assess the shots, take a look at as many as I could stand to get through. And then once you're on top of a clip, if you're a Final Cut Pro person, you hit F key. Just hit the F key if you're over any clip, and it brings you to the original, okay? So you can have your sequence. You don't have to mess that up as you're reviewing it. You hit the F key, and now you can mark an in point. You can play that clip. You can make your out point, and then you can drag it into your edit. So you can move from place to place and still have your original full clips, but still get to the original clip to edit. As I was putting this together, I took the photo. We were supplied with a Photoshop file, okay, this K-12, right? I opened it in Photoshop. It was multiple layers. All the way down at the bottom was a complete one. I turned everything else off. I put a alpha around it, which is just, you highlight everything else. You hit Q in Photoshop. It makes an alpha. You save that out as a TIFF. You don't want to save it as a Photoshop at that point. Save it out as a TIFF. And it's just easier to work with. It's right there. I did, in fact, put one of my favorite, couple different things. And this is kind of important when you're dealing with different graphics that come in. I mean, let's see how big it really, how much. Okay, I brought it down to 56% of 100% of its original size. So if you've got a graphic, a JPEG, that's 100%, and now you're squeezing it all the way down to 20% of its size, where do all those little jaggies go? They just kind of start standing on top of one another. So when you deal with that kind of thing, you put a little Gaussian blur on it. There's just 2, which is the standard one that comes with it. But sometimes, if you're lazy and you don't want to go all the way back to Photoshop and make it smaller, so you're dealing with a smaller file, which you really should do, because Final Cut 7 doesn't like those big files, You can do that also. And then I put my favorite vignette on it that gives it a little more sex appeal around the edges. I mean, I was building this, and this silly little thing down at the bottom that basically IDs the entire piece. It's just a piece of matte with a filter on it. Soft edges on the bottom, and then I positioned it just to give it some kind of branding throughout.
How about your title animations?
The title, this thing right here, I have a million different, that thing right there,
Yeah.
I have a million of those. Digital juice. You know, I've got some old ones that are still standard def. If it's fire or smoke or something like that, you can get away with blowing that up to 333%, fills the screen, or 250, depending on what you want to do.
So those are plugins.
No, it's a piece of video. It is actually a piece of video. Yeah, it's just something. Just an element.
Is it like a montage?
I beg your pardon?
Is it like a montage or like a subtle effect? Is it actual effect?
It's just an effect that has an alpha. You can buy those things. They come bazillions of them at once.
It's like a QuickTime movie with an alpha on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
probably like Digital Juice or something like that, right?
Yeah, digital juice. Yeah, yeah. That's kind of it. So, I mean, as I built it, I found this. I rely on a lot of serendipity when it comes to this kind of a thing. I don't know where I'm going with this when I start. And I look through the assets that I have. You build your assets. And you got to go with your gut when you see something that's going to work. The original one is blue. Okay? So that's why I use color corrector. Sometimes I'll just use, what's the other one? Color, just change the color. But if you use color corrector, you can spin the color wheel, and if it's blue, you can turn it green or red or whatever you want. But it keeps the subtlety of the other colors in it also. And then the one last thing, and then I'll be done. This thing right here. This little edge wipe right here. I wanted to, so once I hit upon the green, I wanted that to be a theme throughout. So I put it in different places when we were moving from one group to another. Well, this one, if I take this one off, this edge wipe actually, is it going to mess me up here? Come on. It's just solid green. Okay, well, it didn't lose its render file. And then on top of it, I just took the same edge wipe, but didn't use the green, which you can see in that little button right there, and put a soft on it. So this is another form of compositing in essence. So there's a solid fat line underneath there, and then a same piece of video with exactly the same timing with a soft edge on it to create that soft, hard edge. So building things up happens a lot, okay? And then this is just a classic fade to white. That's it.
Nicely done, Tom.
Thanks.
And when it comes to using some of that prepackaged stuff, some of those digital juice things, you know, I used to, when I was younger, think, well, I can't use that stuff. It's art, right? I got to do everything myself. No, it's about getting paid by your client. If they don't give you time to do art, use that stuff. I use it all the time. Rampant Design Tools, is that the name of it? Rampant Design Tools does some really cool stuff. Go check them out. And it's all QuickTime movies that you can drop onto your timelines. Okay, this is my corporate cut. And the only thing I will say about this is, okay, so I found out I was going to be doing these edits yesterday. And as I was editing, footage from these other editors was coming in to me, because I had to put it on a drive. And I said, I can't look at their footage. I can't look at what they've done because I'll taint my brain with what they've done. So I edited mine together, and then I started looking at the other footage, and when I hit Dave's corporate cut, I just laughed my ass off because our lower third is like that different.
This is my first time at the Craig Michaels K-12 Technology Summit.
See what I mean?
And I have to tell you that it's really been a phenomenal experience.
My experience at the summit so far has been really good. I think the format is fantastic.
This is our second day here. It has already exceeded any expectations we've had.
The experience with Craig Michaels is very different from other trade shows and conferences that you attend.
The individual meetings allow us to pick who we might want to talk to, and they've agreed they want to talk to us.
You really have the ability to talk one-on-one in a very dedicated and serious way about business issues that you would like to discuss, as well as learning from the participants about what their issues are, what their concerns are.
It's a condensed schedule of important meetings with the right people versus a lot of kind of traffic from people who might not be interested in what you have to offer.
Those one-on-one meetings are great to determine where do we fit in to the solution that they're looking for.
It certainly adds a lot of value to the decisions we make around our software, which I think is more powerful than a sale actually, because it impacts all of our customers.
And then, of course, you have all that other time for networking and, just kind of hanging around and getting to know someone as well.
Conversations in the hallways or at the dinner meetings, where we get to learn a lot about what customers are looking for.
We have met with over 20 school districts in the day and a half that my colleagues and I will be here. Think of the expense that we've saved, having to travel across the country to, meet all of these school districts one-on-one.
If you're a first-time person doing this, I would tell you it will absolutely benefit you and your company if you have the product that's ready to go national.
We were able to get significant value from being here and look forward to another day of great meetings tomorrow.
You're linking leaders, that's what you're doing, and you're bringing people with needs to people with solutions.
So the conversation that just went on back here between three of us was that we loved that last shot of the guy, except for the cleaning guy that walked through the shot in the background.
Here's the cleaning guy.
It never fails, man. I'll tell you the quick story. I was shooting for the same company in Palm Springs, and it was like April in Palm Springs. So it was absolutely beautiful. We found this gorgeous shot that in the background, there's these huge, just huge bougainvilleas just growing over this wall. So it's got all this beautiful color. So we set everything up, and it's all set, and it's ready to go. And here comes the client with the president of the University of Michigan, I believe it was, walking in. And as he's walking from this side, a trailer with about 30 lawnmowers is pulling up on this side. And they start pulling them off. It's like, oh, hell, here we go. And of course, nobody on that trailer habla inglés, so. So I cut that in 10. I vignetted all of the interviews, which you can see here. I think it's interesting, all of us vignetted them, didn't we? That really kind of shows you how in that look is, huh? So all of that was vignetted. Again, the lower third, I laughed my ass off when I saw Dave's cut because they're almost exactly the same. Here, this will show you the workflow between Motion and Final Cut 10. So basically, I have a title here that was created in Motion, and let me find it over here. So it's actually a Motion file, and I can actually open it in Motion. We'll give it a second to open up here. And as you create these things in Motion, Oh, I don't have the font on this side, so it's going to goof it up a little bit. But as you create these things in motion, you can publish certain parameters of this of the different objects that are in here. So once you publish parameters, you save this out as it's basically a title template that you can then open in Final Cut. And as you add it to your timeline, then up here, any of those parameters that you published, you can now affect, right? So if I want to, and I didn't really publish all that many of them, so here it would just be the text, right? So you can change the text, you can change the outline, you can change the glow, you can change the color of the text. If you actually look at this as it is when it comes across, this is as it was saved. So you'll notice the text is different, and then that text can all just be changed within Final Cut. If I had published the color of that bar, I could change the color of that bar in Final Cut. So it's almost like you're taking, instead of doing it in motion, you're publishing it, and then you can affect it in Final Cut 10. Here's a tip for when you're making templates. First name, last name, but then I always have the second line is really long title because I am important. And the third one is really long company name that is incorporated because they're always going to be huge. So that gives you some room to work with. Yes.
64-bit.
Yes, there is a new motion program to go with 10, and it is 64-bit. So it's kind of a different workflow, right? Instead of going to After Effects and having it update in the timeline in Premiere, you're creating in motion and then bringing that across with whatever parameters you want to be able to adjust in 10, published out to that title, and then putting it on the timeline and making whatever adjustments you want to make. Motion, I love motion for titling. I do tons of lower thirds in motion. If you get to where you have to do some pretty heavy After Effects stuff, heavy motion tracking, things like that, go to After Effects. Save yourself the time. It's just so much easier in After Effects. Any questions on any of the corporate cuts?
Did any of you guys do any audio work in these projects?
I did. I basically, on all of my interview audio, I always apply two effects. I apply a compressor and I apply a EQ, right? The compressor just basically gets everything to a standard level. And the EQ, I always have a tendency to push the higher ends around 3K, 4K. And the reason for that is the human voice, especially when speaking English you understand because of the consonants. And they're all very high frequencies. The t, the k, the s, right? So get up there around 3-4 kilohertz, bump those a little bit, right? That'll help you out a lot. On music, I always add a channel EQ. And if you look at this channel EQ, I don't think I can make this box any bigger. Can you guys see that? If you've noticed, I've dug a trench in this thing from about 200 up to about 2K. Well, actually up to about 4K. Why did I do that? Because that's where the human voice is. Those are the frequencies where the human voice is. So if you take those frequencies and dig them out of your music, you can bring your music up a little bit more and get the emotional effect of the music, but still have the voice be recognizable. That's a huge tip. Use that on music. Dig that voice channel out. Because I'm a musician, so people are always telling me, the music's too loud, you got to turn the music down. So this is my way of getting around that. Pull out the music that's in the voice. Other questions?
Yeah, for each of you, about how long did it take you to do the corporate edit?
For me, that was probably, and it's not a fair judge because I've actually cut this before. So it was probably 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
About 8 or 9.
Which? 4 or 5 or 8 or 9?
8 or 9. It took me a fat 4, actually. But then there were some other technical issues. One of the biggest challenges was getting it off our main systems and putting them on laptops, right? For audio, if you're still Final Cut 7, which I know is going the way of the hills, if you want a good compressor setting, I put this on every voice I do. I got this from a broadcaster, and I've noodled with these numbers. This is just your basic compressor. And these little numbers right here, I think I published this in my blog that's on the website. If I didn't, I'll be sure to put it in there, because these settings just are gold. Everything comes up nice and rich, nice and round, and presses it down a little bit, but keeps it up there a little bit. So, go ahead, question?
We got a lot of data, and you want to press it as small as you can. You don't want to lose quality. What format is pretty much the lowest you need to get it in or put it in? Like when you,
For your video output?
yeah, like
Final
say
delivery?
You have a client, they just determined on having it on DVD, dual layer. They, you know, and that's so much data, footage they gave me. How do I get it small without losing quality?
Takes a lot of practice.
You can't.
That's a whole talk about compression and encoding, and
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
could do a whole session on that.
MPEG-2 is what DVDs are made with, okay? MPEG-2, okay? So, I mean, I've used iDVD, okay? Started with HD, which was ProRes, and just threw it in there, and it took care of it. It basically turns it into MPEG-2. And, well, yeah, just typical iDVD on your, which isn't available anymore.
You asked a question you wanted everybody to answer. It was just how long did it take?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We were all about an 8-hour day or so, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, by the end of the day, yeah, it was 3 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was just a question of, I'd shoot a lot of the stuff that I edit, so I had to go through it.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of familiarize myself, okay, what do I have to work with before I can sit down and start editing? Like playing all the interview footage, breaking that up, and then going through the B-roll to see what I have that will work. And I don't know what the other guys do. I mean, I just sort of, my way of working is kind of scan everything, pull down interview clips, slap B-roll on there, and just sort of a mess, and then just start moving stuff around.
Yeah.
I'm always about the story and what they're saying, so I'll do the A-roll cut first, go through the interviews, find the good bites, and just start hopscotching back and forth between people. And it's always evenly balanced. And if it's from doing corporate videos for so long, it's evenly balanced between men and women, people of all different kind of ethnicities. It's always very inclusive, and that, I do that first. Once I do that, then B-roll is just window dressing after that.
Right. Get the story, yeah. Get the audio down.
Yeah.
We better move on to
The story
the
first.
final.
Hello,
or-
Ed, two questions real quick.
Okay.
Where can I get the compressor settings for the audio?
I'll on SDMediaPros.org. Go down to the bottom of the front page and look at my blog. I think I put them in there, and if I haven't, I'll put them in there for sure.
Okay.
Good.
My other one was when you said vignettes that you, Mike, that you did vignettes.
Yes.
on that, is that what do you exactly?
What do I mean by that? Okay, so if you look at this interview here, you'll notice that the edges are dark and the face is bright, and that's done with a vignette. And this is the vignette that I did. And vignetting in Final Cut 10 is very, very easy. You basically add a second color corrector, and you add a shape mask to it, which is what this is. This is the, this is the inside of it, this is the outside of it, and this is the feathering on it.
It's a little hard to see.
Is it hard? Sorry. Once you create the shape mask, you basically can go in on your exposure, and you can say, do I want to adjust the inside or the outside? And on this one, I'm saying the outside of the shape mask. And you'll notice I pull that down. Can you see that?
Yes.
Let me go real drastic with it. And if I bring this in, it makes the edge harder and harder. That softens the edge out.
Some of them even add a blur if you find the right one.
Yeah, and some will add a blur as well. It's just kind of a look nowadays, the whole vignetting thing. I used it recently on a project where I had a guy that was interviewed wearing a light blue shirt, and he was really nervous and he started sweating and it started to show in the armpits of his shirt. And so I used a vignette. It didn't completely cover it, but it draws the eye away from it and puts it towards
Where can we learn how to do that?
Come to more meetings.
Yeah, come to me. Seriously, if you want to learn how to do stuff in Final Cut 10, I would really suggest rippletraining.com. They have some great stuff.
Are you doing your color corrections in 10, or are you doing your color corrections in color?
I'm doing them in 10. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing them in 10. All right, let's move on to the filmic cut. And let me give you really quick, here's the synopsis on it. It was originally produced in 2009 for the 48-hour film project. The genre was superhero. Amy Ballinger is one of a group of heroes called historians. They have the power to enter into somebody's memory in the past and alter their memory of the past, changing it so that the person can see a different perspective. Through doing this, that person can then change their future. The scene that's being cut is the final scene in the movie. In a prior scene, we've seen the setup that Mac, who's played by Merrick McCarthy, he'll be the black gentleman in it. He's a soldier that's been troubled by his past. His best friend died in his arms during combat. Ever since then, Mac has blamed himself. He should have been able to save him. He feels it was his fault he's died. In this scene, Amy confronts Mac and she flashes back to the scene in his mind where his friend dies. However, this time it's taken a turn and he's replaced his friend. He's now become his friend so that he can understand his friend's perspective of that death. We flash back to Amy and Mac in the bar, and Mac has seen her in this flashback, and that triggers off in her mind that, he's got this power as well. So we will start out, we'll just go, we'll start out with Tom Kinnaman's cut. Anything you want to say about this, Tom?
I think it's best to play it first,
all right,
and we can do some quick dissection.
You need to get past this.
What are you talking about?
This memory, this pain. You need to see it in a different way.
Who are you?
It's okay. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. What are you doing here?
You saw me.
What was that? How'd you do that? Who are you?
My name is Amy Ballinger. What you just saw was exactly what you needed to move on.
He was all right. He was at peace.
Yes, he was. You saw me.
Yeah, so?
It means you can do what I do. You can take people back into history and show them a different perspective of their past so they can change their future. It's a gift. You're one of us.
Us?
They call us historians.
Okay, so I should add that first scene that you see coming into that scene, so that this will actually make sense. Peter here just had a flashback of his daughter seeing him, him seeing his daughter's vision of him as an alcoholic. So that makes sense.
It was a little tricky. I showed it for one of the guys in the office, and he kind of got it, but I didn't read him the synopsis either, though. Well, no applause for that? Putting something like this together, you're looking through the footage to get a feel for what there is, right? So Mike provided all of these different clips, okay? So you can see there's, what, 6 different clips there of that scene. There's a couple clips of the opening scene with the other gentleman. And then there's quite a few of this angle, quite a few of the opposite angle, and then a couple shots of the closing shot, right? So, you know, you pretty much gotta watch it all, you know? And then you try and take your feel for the words that make sense and then the action also. And you always want to cut on action so it hides any other movement that might have happened before. You try and match action. I got lucky when she rustled at one point and he wanted to leave. I found a great spot and it really went together really well. So that's the kind of stuff that you kind of want to see. You know, you experiment. If you can see the little fade out right here, I thought, you know, in the playback it looks a little bit heavy, but so I got 2 words. I took 2 different scenes. I put them over the top. You know, just, you know, it feels maybe a little cheesy with the cutting back and forth with the white, but I just added white on top of that shot. And then just basically cut what we were given with the scenes I took. Now, somebody else could have chosen other takes. Some other takes I'm sure were chosen. At some point, you've got to go, this is what I chose, I'm working with this. Otherwise, you'll never finish. And then, you know, the scene, there's lots of different sound effects. I mean, I've got rain down here. I've got a machine of some kind. I've got different explosions. I've got just all this stuff to give it some kind of a feel for the wartime. I found a cocktail bar walla they call it, to put in the background so it wasn't just totally. And there was one funny little thing that I had to do and then I'll stop. Over here with the audio, when she was sitting down, at one point the chair sounded like she farted. So I had to fix that and put some other ambience over the top of it, but you didn't notice, did you?
That's right. I gotta move this along so we can see all 3 because we got like 10 minutes.
Yes.
So hold your questions till the end.
Yes, we're way over.
Next is going to be Eric Addison's cut of this same scene. Here we go.
You need to get past this.
What are you talking about?
This memory, this pain. You need to see it in a different way.
Who are you?
It's okay. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. What are you doing here?
You saw me.
What's that? How'd you do that? Who are you?
My name is Amy Bellinger. What you just saw was exactly what you needed to move on.
He was all right. was that piece?
Yes, he was. You saw me.
Yeah. So?
It means you can do what I do.
Sit next to people at bars and freak them out?
That's not what I meant. You can take people back into history, show them a different perspective of their past so they can change their futures. It's a gift. You're one of us.
Us?
They call us historians.
I have to say, I love that. There's two things that I really loved about that cut. The way you let it breathe, it just had like all this wonderful space just to breathe. And the music, I love what you did with the music. It's very cool. Anything you want to say?
You know, I didn't know, I was talking to Mike about it beforehand, and, you know, when you're cutting a scene for a narrative, you know, you have to kind of know who's the central person in that scene. And we just got like 2 pages of script. So I didn't know what came before. I didn't know this was at the end. If it was in the notes, I missed that. I probably should have read the whole thing a little closer, but I didn't know if this was in the middle, at the end, or where it was. And so I was trying to figure out, okay, is this her scene where she's realizing, oh my gosh, there's someone else out there like me? Or is this his scene where he's you know, he finds out, holy crap, I've got this crazy power that I never knew about. You know, so I went with him. So I tried to focus, like, it's more of a revelation for him. Most of the time, we're trying to see him on a lot of the big reactions and things like that, and it's her just sort of revealing that to him. It was fun to cut. Yeah, the music, honestly, was Smart Sound. So, God bless Smart Sound.
It wasn't so much the music itself, it's the way you used it. It was the whole, just the ambience of the bar.
Yeah.
That was cool.
It was just well, yeah, I was listening to yours where you had like the people milling about, and I thought about doing that, but I'm like, well, I don't see anybody in the background, so I didn't know, like, but yeah, so I just threw on some reverb onto that track. And then I don't know if you could notice, like at the beginning when the guy was kind of sitting there having his little moment, I found some children giggling, and that's my voice saying, "Stop drinking." And I just put it in Audition and just like echoed the crap out of it, and then just kind of laid it in, and then found that, you know, transition sound effect. It's kind of like the, you know, Quantum Leap kind of whatever sound, you know. So I kind of put that in kind of subtly as to sort of like foreshadow what's coming later in the scene. But yeah, I didn't do any color correction on it because I didn't want to touch Bill Bork's fine cinematography. And the war scene, again, Magic Bullet looks. That's a look that I put on there that I kind of just had fun with. And yeah, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, I don't know. Any questions?
Cool. Wait, let's put questions to the end, because we have one more to show. And this is my film cut. I don't give a shit about Bill Bork. I color corrected the hell out of this thing. But I work with Bill all the time, so I can get away with it. Actually, I probably over color corrected this because I wanted to kind of show what 10 can do with color correction. So here we go.
You need to get past this.
What are you talking about?
This memory, this pain. You need to see it in a different way.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's okay. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. What are you doing here?
You saw me.
What was that? How'd you do that? Who are you?
My name is Amy Bellinger. What you just saw was exactly what you needed to move on.
was all right. He was at peace.
Yeah, he was. You saw me.
Yeah, so
It means you can do what I do.
sit next to people at bars and freak them out.
It's not what I meant. You can take people back in history and show them a different perspective of their past so they can change their future. It's a gift. You're one of us.
Us?
They call us historians.
So just a couple of quick things that I did on that with Final Cut 10. The color correction on all of this stuff is it's the blue and orange that is so popular these days, right? Everything you see is blue and orange. How do you do that? Go to your color, take this, now color board as opposed to color wheel, so it might not make as much sense. But to get this blue and orange look, it's real simple. Everything that's in your blacks, you're gonna push it to blue, right? Everything that's in your highlights, you're gonna push it to blue. But everything in the middle, which is gonna be skin tones, you're gonna push that to orange, right? So that's gonna give you that blue and orange look. The other thing, and this is the one thing that I love the most about Final Cut 10 when I'm editing filmic or narrative stuff, it's called auditions, right? So if I have 2 or 3 different takes of this scene, I can stack one on top of the other and create an audition clip. And with an audition clip, I can just open this up and click which clip I want. If you'll notice when I do this, notice how the timeline just gets out of the way, lengthens or shortens as needed. I can click that, I can show the director that clip if I want. If they don't like that, I can come back, click to the other one. Now they can see that. If I have 3 or 4 different takes, I can just keep stacking them on top of each other. And it's really fast to go from take to take to take and immediately show your director what you have. So yeah, that's it. That's all we have for you, kids. Questions?
What was that shot on, and what was the data rate and all that stuff? What was it?
This was, let me see if I can remember, because this was shot in 2009. I believe it was shot on an EX1 with a Red Rock Micro in front of it. The DP was Bill Bork. The director on this was Mike Brueggemeyer. And I think Ron Kilby did audio on this one. And I should also mention that the corporate stuff, the shooter on that was Matt Gerasi. And that was all shot with it was all shot with a Canon 7D. Which, by the way, if you have to do interviews in ugly-ass hotel hallways, big chips are beautiful. Because it's no longer an ugly hotel hallway, right? It becomes this nice, bokeh'd out, blurry thing. Any other questions? In the back.
Editing between platforms. Is that feasible?
Do you mean editing the same thing on multiple platforms? Or do you mean like...
Yeah, getting this, like, the final product.
Uh-huh.
Between Final Cut 7, 10, whatever.
I tend to pick an edit system for the project and use that edit system throughout. I mean, because we're kind of we have an embarrassment of riches these days, right? I mean, all these edit systems cost a couple grand. And they'll all work with third-party hardware to get it out to a broadcast monitor, right? So own multiple ones and throw the one at the project that works the best. If you have a lot of After Effects stuff, go to Premiere, man. Do it that way. I had a project for NBC where I had to do a whole bunch of like removal of stuff on a wall. Perfect. I did it in Premiere, went to After Effects, motion tracked, all that stuff. If I've got, if I've got heavy multicam stuff, I'm going to go to Final Cut 10. The multicam in it rocks. You know, if you're in a situation where you're just cutting narrative, filmic stuff, AVID rocks. If you need multiple systems tied into one chunk of shared storage, you would be stupid to go with anything but AVID. So yeah, own all of them.
Are you talking about like starting a project in one NLE and then trying to move it to another? Or
No, more specifically like doing the entire project and having the final product as like done with multiple platforms.
oh, so just exporting out like multiple formats of it. Is that kind of what you're talking about? When you say platforms, are you talking about?
Edit systems or?
Systems.
I don't think anyone's going to do that. They're
Well,
going
I
to
mean,
choose where they're
Premiere
going to start.
Premiere will if you're talking about the project files themselves, Premiere will open up Final Cut projects, and it'll open up with mixed results AVID projects. But you know, you have to be careful. If you have a lot of proprietary effects inside Final Cut and you try to open that up in Premiere, those aren't going to come through. But you know, but if you just have just the clips themselves, that you can bring over.
Okay, so you can't take edited material, like bring it all together to one.
You could. It would just you'd have to sort of be careful about how you do it. I mean, you can. I've done that. I've had projects. I had a whole like 30-minute broadcast show that was cut in Final Cut, and I was able to open it up inside Premiere. You know, there were some things that didn't carry over. There were some motion projects that didn't come up, and some other things. But as for just the show itself, all the clips, those were all there, and I was able to see all those and build off of that.
Is that kind of what you were asking?
Yeah.
Okay. One last question, and then it's 9 o'clock, and everybody, has a home life. Yes?
Yeah, so it seems like you've all entered on different systems. Can you just real quick say what you like to enter on best, what's your favorite, why?
I'll start. I've been using Final Cut 7 for 12 years. I was a linear editor before that, so I grew up when Final Cut 3 and 4 and 5 came on real fast, and then 6 lived for a long time, and now it's 7. And I tried 10, and I couldn't do it, frankly. It didn't work for my commercial fast turnaround workflow. I am learning Premiere Pro, and I do use After Effects. So that's probably the direction I am going.
Adobe pays me money, so no. No, I've been using Premiere since I got a less than legitimate copy in college. And so that's kind of what I grew up on, and so I kind of stuck with it. I'm also the only Windows user up here, so for a long time Premiere was only on Windows, so I kind of just stuck with it all this time. But for me, I use After Effects a lot, so it's a no-brainer. It works native with footage. I don't want to transcode. I don't want to do it. So, there's a story I tell, like I was on a shoot for a short film. We were shooting a scene. The director said, "Do you think it's going to cut together?" I said, "I don't know. Let's go see." We pulled the card out of the camera, put it in the slot of my laptop. We cut the scene together from the card inside Premiere. We need an insert shot. Okay, card back out, back in camera, got the insert shot, went on. It's that kind of stuff that that I like about Premiere, is that it just works fast. The interplay with all of the other Adobe apps. If you're using Photoshop, if you're using After Effects, why not? Would you? And now the Adobe guys are really. We were kind of the redheaded stepchild in the NLE world for a long time. The Adobe guys that are there now are set on making this just the best. I mean, it's like a take no prisoners attitude. We want to be the best, and I love that they're just innovating. So for me, that's why I stick with them, and I love it.
Yeah, I started in '95 when Mark back here got the first AVID that I ever worked on, and now that I'm freelance and I work in broadcast sports every once in a while, multiple users keyed into the same system. Yeah, I mean, it just works rock solid. It's safe. What else can I tell you? Yeah, I mean, you can plug a P2 card or an SBS card in, AMA to it, mount it, start cutting, pull the card out, same kind of thing. AVID has come a long way. It's not closed. You can take your AJA or Blackmagic card out of your Final Cut Pro or leave it in. Install AVID, use the same hardware, link to this. It's just, to me, it's what I learned on. It's the paradigm that many of these systems, except for that one, is based around, and I'm quicker on that. But I spent lots of time in Media 100 and Final Cut Pro 7, and of course tape-based linear stuff, and it's just what you're comfortable with. Bless you.
Bless you.
That was cute.
That was an epic sneeze. I've cut AVID. I spent a long time on AVID. After that, I moved to Final Cut 7. I spent a long time on Final Cut 7. And recently, I've moved to using Final Cut 10. It was difficult to get there. Final Cut 10 is a completely different paradigm, I hate to use that word, than other edit systems. And when Final Cut 10 first came out at 10.0, I downloaded it and I went, what the hell did you do to my Final Cut? And I couldn't use it. There was just so many things that weren't there. And I went back at Final Cut 10.3 and I looked at it because multicam was back. I needed multicam, but there were still some things that were missing. The ability to cut and paste attributes from clip to clip was missing. That made it not usable in my workflow. At 10.6, that cut and paste came back. So I decided I'm really going to give this thing a try because I had heard all of the, all the complaints. It's iMovie Pro, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. Once you get, it took me, a good month to 2 months of just fighting through it to get my head wrapped around it because I came from a completely different mindset. Now that I have my head wrapped around it, it is the fastest edit system I've ever worked with, and it's the fastest at making revisions that I've ever worked with. Does it still have some problems? Yes. The main one, audio. Audio is still an issue in Final Cut 10. I need a way to get out to some type of audio sweetening that works. I was hoping Logic 10 was going to be that solution. It wasn't. Hopefully it will in the future. All I can tell you is don't just be a lemming and buy the hype. Give it a shot. See if it works for you. There's going to be situations where it doesn't. If you have to have a bunch of systems tied together, it's not going to work. But once I got my head wrapped around it, I really fell in love with it. You're waving at me.
I wanted to just mention, as you were talking about difficult, sorry about that. 10.7 was a breakthrough, I thought, because you can make as many QuickTime movies from master files that you're editing, and they don't stop. You can do 5, 10, however many you want. It keeps on going. It's a daisy chain.
Yeah.
That to me was the breakthrough. That sold me. That was when it started convincing me not to get it.
The thing that sold me on it to start with, but I couldn't use it until it got to a point where it was more usable, was the whole keyword concept of organizing footage. Because that, to me as an editor, the most important thing in my world is the ability to organize footage. Because if I can organize footage, it's less time I have to take my creative brain off of my timeline and try and find footage. And every project I work on in 10, I end it and I go, I could have done it this way. I could have keyworded this way, and it would have been even easier. It's an endless pool of organization. And if you looked at the top of my desk, you would never believe I liked that. But I do in an edit system.
10.8 was a major issue. I'm glad they went to 10.9. 10.8 was bad. It was troublesome for me quite a bit to make master files. When I changed the rate from a progressive to an interlace file, it was given it frame rate problems, it said, and I fixed it on the 9th version. So.
Yeah, I haven't gone to 9 yet. I'm still working on a project for another guy that's on 8.
9 is flawless. Compressor to version 9.
Actually, for compressing, I've actually kind of moved over to Adobe Media Encoder.
So you don't send the compressor?
No, because the problem is compressor is still 32-bit, and on the top of my huge Mac Pro at home, I have these little bars that shows me how many CPUs are being used, and when there's only 4 of them being used in compressor, I get pissed. So when I do it in Media Encoder, all of them go to the top, and I'm happy. Yeah, so I've been using Media Encoder.
You don't use compressor, you use.
I've been using Media Encoder to do compression. We do have to, hold on.
The last thing I wanted to mention was, like Eric, I do a lot of work in AVID on Windows for my clients. So if you like Windows, you can have AVID or Premiere. If you like Mac, you can have AVID or Premiere. Nothing to slap me. I love it. I love Final Cut and all that stuff, but there's that option too.
Basically, like I said at the beginning of this, just to kind of put the donut hole on this thing, all of these systems will work for the edits that you're doing. Every one of these systems I've cut broadcast stuff on and had it submitted and had it accepted with absolutely no problem. So find the one that works the best for you, that works the way your brain works, and use that one. It's not about being evangelist for this or that or this or that. It's about getting paid. Right? And if you find a system that works quickly for you, you can get a job done and you can get paid. So to wrap this up, was this a worthwhile meeting for you guys? Better than like an edit system shootout?
Yeah.
I want to thank all you guys for coming. I also want to thank these editors for putting the time in to cut this stuff. because as you heard all of them say, you know, some of these only one project took them 8 hours to cut together. That's 8 hours that they could have been getting paid for that they didn't get paid for because they were doing this. Thanks to New Blue Effects for, you know, doing some sponsorship for us, bringing this stuff out. Go to their website, check out their stuff. They have some really cool plugins, and they're local.
We do have some
we have
door
door
prizes,
too. That's the best part, is giving stuff away, and I almost
We got some
forgot.
swag to which should we segue here real quick?
Yeah, you know all the swag, so ladies and gentlemen, Tom Kinnaman, he's going to give you stuff.
Okay, so pull out your raffle cards. Let's do that. Ryan, let's rock this. Everybody wants to get down the road. We got some great T-shirts and some hats and some lanyards. So pick a number.
All right, here we go. First one is the hats. The last three
numbers.
are 879.
879. 879. Go fast, because
534.
534. It's a hat for you, sir.
All
And a
right.
lanyard.
622.
2 lanyards.
622.
Give it to your friend next to you there.
All right, here's the more. 615.
615. Here, you need that. And you need it. Oh.
878. Got some shirts here.
There you go. There you go. And a T-shirt. There you go.
Okay, here's another shirt. 878. 878.
878.
Let's try 900.
900 even. 900 even. You look like you have a lot of stress, so you need that little guy right there. And the lanyard. There you go.
632.
632.
Anybody?
Who likes Sennheiser? Sennheiser, a nice black T-shirt. That'll look good on you, buddy. 853. It's a hat and a squeezy ball because you look annoying also. 537.
894.
894. Who's a golfer? Raise your hand if you're a golfer. 894. Here's a T-shirt for you, sir. Golfers, raise your hand. Golfers, raise your hand. 895. There we go. T-shirt, young lady. There you go.
620.
Here's a squeezy, too. Here's a squeezy for you. There's a golfer right here.
625.
Other golfers? No? 625. Okay, we got one more. We had a couple more Sennheiser T-shirts. These are nice. 909. 877. 032. 626. 875. There you go. You want a T-shirt and a squeezy. 2 more T-shirts. 883. Big winner. T-shirt. 042. These are nice hats. Sennheiser hat. Bill, squeezy. 629. Here you go. You can sleep in there. It's probably big enough. That's all right. We trust you.
624.
Nice hats. 044. There's a hat. Sorry. 007. There you go. A hat. That's it. Lanyards. Just come up if you need a lanyard. Okay. One last squeezy toy. Who wants a squeezy toy? Raise your hand. Whoa! There you go. Go to our website. I do want to point out that Video Gear is our sponsor. They have a new mobile truck, which is available now. So please click on the link when you go to our site And thank you, everybody. That's a wrap.